Hi Sonia, here's some information in regards to soy and some insights as it relates to GMO and non-GMO soy. First, let's get into the differences between genetically modified soy and non-genetically modified soy. One of the interesting areas as it relates to genetically modified soy is that genetically modified soy seems to have a aberrated or a different ratio of the isoflavones genistein, diadzine, and glycine. The ratio within normal or organic soy, or soy that was around before there was genetic modification, was a specific ratio which was proven in its natural state to be highly effective in the following areas. A, for it to modulate estrogens as opposed to being able to just burst them up. And B, to be able to be protective for such things as cardiovascular disease, central nervous system, and also bones. So all of these different factors have allowed this soy product, this soy substance, to be able to become what's known as GRAS, or GRAS, or generally regarded as safe by the NIH. To get a designation of GRAS, it requires long-term studies, both safety and efficacy, which most other actual nutrients don't have. There's only approximately 1 to 2 dozen GRAS type of nutrients out there, and soy is one of them, so it's gone through a great deal of trials. Let's talk about specifically such things as the genistein becoming higher. Genistein has been studied to be one of the more estrogenic of the isoflavones. And it's important to understand that in many cases with GMO or genetically modified, the genistein gets elevated, and that can be a problem. And truly getting a true non-GMO is really essential to being able to get those great protective effects of soy, as opposed to soy possibly being a problem. Let's dig into soy a little bit deeper if we could. Metagenics obviously uses non-GMO, and we have the documentation so you can show to your patients. Let's take a look at soy, though, as something which is very interesting, a select estrogen response modulator, or a SERM. It's very, very interesting that when they first started taking a look at estrogen and soy, this was many years back, and they looked at it and they thought that there was only one estrogen receptor site on the actual, or one type of estrogen receptor site on the actual lipoprotein layer or outer layer of the cell membrane in our cells. And they basically called that an estrogen receptor site, basic, nice and simple. And they believed that soy activated it and that estrogen activated it. And their belief in the situation made them believe that soy was like an estrogen in activating that receptor site, which would lead to mitotic states. Mitotic states are cell division, and things in high amounts, when that activation happens in high amounts, could lead towards things like increases of cell division towards cancers. So that's a major concern that many of these soy haters out there have in regards to it being an estrogen. But let's look at the real facts. There's two real facts which should be taken into account. The first fact is that soy by itself has an estrogenic effect that's between 100 and 1,000 times less than estrogen. There are three different types of estrogen. There's there's estradiol, which is the most potent, estrone, which is a little less potent, and estriol. Okay? So basically speaking, when it comes down to it, it is 1,000 times less potent than the estradiol, which is the most potent, and about 100 times less potent than the estrone, which is considered very safe amongst individuals who use hormone therapies and natural bioidenticals as well. But once again, 100 to 1,000 times less potent. So therefore, it gives you an idea of exactly how much these people out there in this what's known as group of soy haters, it's about 12 of them, half of which have absolutely no degrees, and most of which are quoting nothing but case studies and not full studies. It gives you an idea of exactly how blatant the accusations are against soy and how unfounded they are. The second thing that is important to understand is that there is not just one estrogen receptor site. They found in their studies of what was known as SERMs, or selective estrogen response modulators. These studies came out when they started studying a pharmaceutical substance known as raloxifene. And raloxifene, they found out, actually activated a different type of estrogen receptor site. And this was very interesting because they actually discovered in the research, and it's well accepted within the entire field now of science, that there's two different types of receptor sites. There's the alpha receptor site, which estrogen actually activates, and there's the beta receptor site, which is activated by selective estrogen response modulators. Raloxifene as the drug is one of those. But guess what else is a selective estrogen response modulator? Soy. So it's important to be able to understand that this activates not the alpha receptor site, but the beta receptor site. Why is this important? Well, the alpha receptor site deals with the estrogens, and if it's overactivated, it can lead to mitotic states and make a person go into an estrogen dominant state, which would increase risk of estrogen or hormone-related cancers, and in addition to that, such estrogen dominant state issues of everything from fibroids to PMS. But we're not activating that receptor site with soy. We're activating the beta receptor site, like the raloxifene. And the beta receptor site, according to all the meta-analysis that's been done ever since the beta receptor site was actually researched, the beta receptor site, when it's activated, forms a protective effect to cardiovascular health, central nervous system health, and the health of your bones. And that's why all the research came out in the meta-analysis from the NIH and allowed soy to be seen as a GRAS substance. So therefore, tons of research on safety and tons of research on efficacy. And they showed all that within their research in central nervous system protection, in regards to bone protection, in regards to cardiovascular health. So remember, this is a beta receptor site activator, not an alpha receptor site activator. The second area that people get all involved with in regards to soy is that soy screws up your thyroid. Soy either makes you hyperthyroid in regards to activating thyroid antibodies, which are making you autoimmune against your own thyroid tissue, or lowering your thyroid function. That's all these claims that are currently out there. But when you really take a look at it, it's very interesting, because all of these soy haters, guess what they quote? They don't quote any peer-reviewed journal, and when they do quote any studies, it's on case studies, 1 or 2 case studies. And I don't know about you, doctor, but the bottom line on the whole thing is if I brought you a simple case study on something, how significantly, statistically significant it is for a large group of people. It isn't, okay? And take a look at the case studies. The lowest dosage intervention with soy, where there seemed to be a problem in a case study, was done on 120 milligrams of soy isoflavones. That was the lowest dosage where there seemed to be a problem. To be able to get that in, you'd have to take 7 or 8 of the actual, you'd have to take 6 of the actual ultra meal per day. And guess what? We only recommend between 2 and 3 tops, okay? And if you want to just have it as breakfast, that's a great breakfast. So you're never even reaching the levels that they get case studies, which are statistically insignificant. Most of the studies where they show case studies, just case studies, and that's what they're showing out there, is over 200 milligrams. So that's over 10 servings. Okay, you're looking at the area of actually 11 servings or more. You're never going to get that into a person anyway. And even if you add in dietary soy, you're never going to get that amount into them. So also another thing is with these case studies, they were actually done with individuals who had really, really, really severe hypothyroidism in the first place. So they're saying that it made it worse. So statistically insignificant in extremely high amounts. And what you have to understand also is if someone's allergic to an actual substance and it increases the inflammatory factors in the body, many times you will end up kicking up other immune factors as well, leading towards increases in antibodies and so on and so forth. So there are many individuals who are allergic to many types of substances, and if you have a person who has a sensitivity to soy in regards to an allergic response, it can lead towards an increase in that autoantibody immune type state. So we want to be able to keep that down, so we have this great choice for the Ultra Meal Rice 360, but most people don't seem to have a problem with it because that's a relatively rare case where someone has a true IgE response or inflammatory allergic response to soy itself. So thyroid's not an issue. The studies to it are ridiculous because it's only case studies at mega high amounts. And estrogen's not an issue as it relates to it because soy is 1,000 to 100 times less potent than any type of estrogen itself. And on top of that, it activates a totally different receptor site, which is protective to health as opposed to mitotic, which would be activating the alpha receptor site. So it activates the beta receptor site, protective. So all of these factors are important, including GMO, and that's my video in regards to soy. Have a great day.